Hi folks, welcome back. Thank you for watching. Please do hit subscribe if you haven't done so yet. It really does make a big difference when you do that. So today folks, welcome to another Ask Perky video. And it's a really interesting question today, or I thought so at least. If you haven't noticed already, which you should have, when it comes to playing guitar at least, I'm left-handed. And I was asked the other day, do I need to buy specific left-handed electronics for my left-handed guitars? Now, the very short answer to that is yes and no, depending on what the component is and how you want it to work. So when it comes to switches, a 5-way switch in a Strat, a 3-way in a Telly, a Switchcraft switch in a Les Paul, no, they're all exactly the same. It depends how you wire them up, of course, and which way around to the guitar you orientate it, but they all work in identical ways, so you don't need to worry about switches whatsoever. Now, when it comes to potentiometers, the best way to think about a potentiometer and how it works is the left and right lugs on the back of it are where you connect things, be that a pickup, a path to earth, or a tone capacitor. So if you look at this tone knob in the back of my Les Paul, you'll see that the right lug has a tone capacitor connected to it, which is linked in parallel to the output of the volume knob, and the left-hand terminal is nothing. So basically what that knob is doing is it's blending between no effect and the full effect of the tone capacitor. And the way that all works is the tone capacitor dumps the high frequencies of your signal to earth. So the output of the pot, the middle terminal, is soldered to the back of the pot so that it earths out. So we're basically blending between the tone knob having no effect and dumping all of your treble frequencies to earth. Now, the way you can basically wire a pot either way, in this instance the tone capacitor and the nothing, you can do it either way around and the pot will then work in reverse. But what you have to remember is that pots have what we call tapers. Now, some pots have a linear taper in that going between 10 and 0 is a completely straight line. So in that instance, yes, you could put the pot in a left-handed guitar, wire it either way around, and it will work just going a different direction, no problem at all. But the vast majority of pots in a guitar have what we call a logarithmic taper, sometimes known as an audio taper, which is basically a curve starting steeply and sort of shelving itself out at the bottom. So if you wire a right-handed pot correctly and put it in a left-handed guitar, it will work correctly, it's no problem at all, but the way you turn the knob will be reversed. Now, what I've noticed over the years is that Fender guitars and Gibson guitars have tone and volume pots for a left-handed player that work the opposite way round. So with a Gibson guitar, when looking down at the guitar, full volume is turning the pot completely clockwise. For a Fender guitar, it was completely anti-clockwise, which I think is the standard way around. Now, what Fender tried to do is they put right-handed pots in a left-handed guitar and just soldered them in reverse so that they worked the correct way around in terms of how you turn them. But the problem with that is the taper's reversed, and when it's an audio taper, you will generally find with a left-handed Fender guitar and Epiphones as well, that the tone knob especially does absolutely nothing until it gets to 9, at which point everything happens. So it's basically on or off, and that's because the audio taper is reversed. So you can buy specific left-handed pots, so you can put them in your guitar, wire them correctly, and they work the correct way around. But what I do is I use standard right-handed guitar pots and put them in my guitar, I wire them correctly, but they then work in reverse. So looking down from a playing position at the knobs, for me, full volume is completely clockwise and off is anti-clockwise. So it's kind of the opposite to what you would expect. But what that means is I can choose any pot I want, put it in this guitar, and it will work the way round that I am used to. Because if you're just buying left-handed specific pots, you only get a stock 500k and 250k pot, whereas I like 550k and 280k pots, and I like experimenting. So it gives me so many more options, and all it's been is a case of getting used to turning it the opposite way around. It's wired correctly inside, but it works backwards in terms of which way you turn it. But that's what I'm used to, and it just makes it so much easier when you're someone who likes tinkering with guitars and playing around with different pots and things. So the last thing is pickups, and generally speaking, no, you don't have to worry about pickups whatsoever because they are typically bar magnets with fixed pole pieces. And on some pickups like humbuckers and filtertrons where it does have a stagger, they are generally done by height adjustable screws, so you can basically just reverse the stagger. But the time you do have to be aware of this is typically with Strat pickups, but also bridge pickups that have a fixed stagger, because the pole pieces are locked in place and you can't adjust them. And if you mount the pickup the other way around for a left-handed guitar, that stagger will be reversed. Now, the pickup will still work and it'll still sound great, and I've had right-handed pickups with fixed staggers in my left-handed guitars before. They sound absolutely fine, but you might notice that the volumes of the individual strings are slightly off. One might be louder than the other, one might be a bit too quiet, because essentially the pole piece stagger is the other way around, so they'll be at random heights. So if you're buying aftermarket pickups, then yes, when it comes to Strat pickups with a fixed stagger and Tele bridge pickups, there might be others as well, but those are the two big ones, you do need to specify that you want a left-handed orientated pickup. With humbuckers, filtertrons, and all those sorts of things, you don't have to worry at all, any pickup will work. But if you are buying an aftermarket pickup for a Strat with the sort of vintage style stagger, you do need a left-handed stagger. So that's pretty much, for me, the only time I need to specify that I'm a left-handed player when I'm ordering components, is if I'm buying Strat pickups or a Tele bridge pickup with a stagger. So there we are, folks. It is a bit of a pain in the backside being a left-handed player, especially because of the very limited amount of guitars I have to choose from compared to you lucky right-handed players. I love going to shops like Denmark Street in London because there's so many incredible vintage guitars, but there's only so excited I can get because I can't really play any of them because they're all the wrong way around for me. So being a lefty is a bit frustrating at times, but when it comes to electronics, it's not as big a headache as it needs to be because I have the pots just working backwards. So I can use any pots, any switches, and generally speaking, any pickups. So it's not too big a headache. But in a few instances, you do have to specify that you're left-handed. So there we are, folks. I hope that was interesting. If you're a left-handed player and you have some horror stories of electronics and buying left-handed guitars, please do share them underneath. And if you have any more questions for a hashtag Ask Perky, please leave them underneath as well, and I will definitely make a video answering them if I possibly can. So thank you for watching, folks. Please do carry on subscribing to this channel if you haven't done so already. It really does make a big difference, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.